Hello traders, welcome back to another trading recap. Today was really good fun, even though the market was a little bit slow. And the reason is because, I don't know, I decided to change up a few things. We had a pretty structured morning. So I always had my top three. I would review them with you guys, but I already kind of, looked everything up about them and I kind of just threw all the information at you. And I was thinking, even doing that and having a top three at the same time, I wasn't really perfectly ready to trade when the market opened. Sometimes I was like, which one of these top three do I really want to be focusing on? And although we had kind of a good idea, sometimes I wasn't that good at actually executing that idea. So I decided, you know what, let's have a little bit more fun. Let's switch it up. Let's get rid of some of the structure. And what I did today was basically, I just ran the scanner this morning at like 8 a.m. And then I threw up two stocks that out of the gates fit our criterion the best, right? And then that's it. That's all I did. Well, okay, I definitely looked into it a little bit more, but that's just about all I did. And then boom, 9:15 started the live stream, and then we were able to break down the whole watch list with you guys. You guys saw the scanner. I basically said, this is the scanner I ran at 8 a.m. I saved it over here. Let's go through everything and talk about why each one might be a top pick and why it might not be. And that's how we found the main gap and go stock that we were focusing on when the market opened. So I hope you guys like that experience. It was really nice for me since I thought we were able to kind of go through everything together. Plus at the same time, we took a little bit of the stress of the structure and just really focused on that, that one best stock that we should be looking at with the market open. And to me, I've really liked it. It was really, really calm and fun experience. So I definitely will be doing that the rest of this week. And then let's see how we want to change up things and maybe improve a few things. But I think all in all, that was a pretty solid way to go. So definitely hit that like button if you enjoyed the new setup and you're ready for the trade recap today. And also, if you are totally new here and you want to start learning how to find the best stock to trade for any given day, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell icon too, so you'll get a reminder tomorrow when we go live. All right, guys, there's three stocks I want to review today, so let's dive into the charts now. All right, guys, so we got VTVT up on the chart, and I'm not gonna lie, it sure is giving me a little bit of FOMO right now because check out this nice little bounce it had off of $3 or 3.04, nice little 4% crack. And honestly, right before I started filming this, I was looking at it and I was like, should I trade this? And knowing that between 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to 12 to and then 12 to 1 and just kind of getting into that second phase of the day trading. I'm already kind of exhausted. Locally, for me, it's 5:21 p.m. I got up at 6:30 today in the morning. So I'm pretty tired by now. And I've noticed that I tend to make a lot of mistakes later in the day because I'm just mentally fatigued. And at one point, I don't want my eyes to fall out of my head and get really red. So I just need to stop trading. And I think a whole reason that I started trading in the first place is because it gives me a tremendous amount of freedom to really do whatever I want. I mean, a part of the year I'm in Berlin or somewhere else in Europe. Sometimes I'm in Utah, at my family's place, or in Florida where I grew up. I mean, I have the freedom to really be wherever I am. So if I'm trading all day, then I might as well just have a normal 9-to-5 job or a normal job like that. So I think a big reason is just understanding I really want to just trade that 9:30 to 10:30, maybe 10:30 to 11, and just leave the rest because like I said, the whole point of wanting to trade is just to really get freedom for yourself. So it's tough because FOMO is a real thing, and I definitely probably could have snagged this trade near $3. It's not exactly a hard thing to do, but wow, yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna have to stop watching that because that is kind of painful. Let's talk about VTVT and let's dive into the charts a little bit. So this thing was gapping up really, really nicely. And, I would have really had to think, should I have gotten more aggressive on this one? It's really hard to say. So let's quickly review it, what happened here. I mean, this thing was gapping up 80-90%. I would say a little bit closer to 90%. We had really, really big resistance though on the long-term chart. So let's quickly go and dive into the long-term chart. Here you can see at $4, I mean, we ripped through all of these big resistance zones pre-market, but $4 is a big, big, big one. And I just did not feel that confident about it. Everything else though was looking really good. So market cap, 209 million market cap, a little bit on the high end, but that's mainly just because of today. It was closer to 100 million literally yesterday. Shares outstanding 66 million, which is a lot, but I found out that their float was only about 3.3, or it was closer to maybe 4 million. So their float was tiny. And I was like, whoa, okay, this makes a lot of sense, because at first I was like, something does not make sense here. Why is this thing running so much with such a large amount of shares outstanding? It should be a little bit slower mover. So that's why I kind of second checked that. And then I realized, okay, they have a tiny float. Which basically means some larger institutions, or maybe some of the shares are preferred shares, or they're reserved, or there could be many reasons why the number of shares outstanding is different than the actual float. And the float is just how many shares are actually able to be traded at any given moment, and that number is tiny. So that's why this thing was such a big runner today. But unfortunately, and it was up on news. So let's quickly check here. What do we have? Sector update, healthcare. So they have positive results on a study of oral therapy for type 1 diabetes. So good news. I think I could have swore there was something else. Tops Q4 expectations. I think that's the one I was thinking about. Anyway, they got multiple cases of good news. So that's really nice. So exactly in our price range, between $2 and $7. Exactly in our market cap range, exactly in the amount of shares outstanding, or I guess you can say float, that we're looking for. So everything's looking really good, but big resistance above. And you know how I feel about that big resistance. So, I didn't trade this one. Opening bell, I just kind of sat back a little bit and kind of watched this whole thing happen, which was a little painful, because this was, an 8% candle that happened right away. But boom, look, big selling volume came in. And ultimately, this thing just, pulled back. So I guess it was a good thing, but there is that chance that we would have been able to possibly trade this. I really do think that, if I got a little aggressive here, as we broke above this area, maybe 3.87, getting aggressive, maybe even, and then selling right as we break 4. That might have been the tactic. But to me, there's just way more risk than reward on this one, and I just couldn't get myself to do it. Buying the pullback here, we almost did it. I had my limit order at 3.57, I think it was. Originally it was 3.53, but then I moved it up to 3.57, and we just missed this bounce. Again, 5% bounce. We missed this one. Luckily, we did get this bounce, but it was just, I kind of faked myself out on this one. We had a really kind of traumatizing move on Friday, and I just did not want that same situation where we basically had this exact same pattern. We had a little bounce here, and we were profitable about 3% at one point, but then it just basically the same thing happened. It just pulled back and sold off the rest of the day. So I didn't want to be part of that. I thought there was a really good chance of us coming back to this. Yikes, there was just a little freeze in my screen recorder, so I just had to restart it. And you can see this one kind of, and you can tell because this one already moved forward a little bit here. So yeah, I don't want to be trading that. Overall, VTVT could have been a nice little trade, and it kind of was. We squeezed about 2% out of this one, but it's a little annoying that we left some money on the table. I was pretty sure we were going to pull back to this former support zone. Because that's just how stocks move. They always want to retest areas. Could have been really nice, but again, I was trading YTEN. So let's quickly just pull up YTEN for a second. Just kind of memorize this chart, YTEN, on Friday, and it was the same exact setup. And the stock pulled back really, really heavy in the morning. So here we go. Boom, little pullback, try to break higher, couldn't do it. And this one was also like a little 8% move higher. Couldn't do it, pulls back here. I mean, these stocks are almost identical. And then again, tries to bounce near this big support zone, which was long-term support over many, many days. And you can even see here, I mean, we ran up here, got rejected, pulled back, eventually broke over this area, retested this area. So, it's a long-standing intraday and long-term support and resistance zone. Unfortunately, we didn't really get a solid bounce off of it. So I was really, really kind of careful with that. And in the whole time I was trading VTVT today, I was just kind of thinking about YTEN on Friday, and I was like, oh man, this thing really didn't bounce, and eventually just totally crashed. So I didn't really want to be part of that one, and that was a big reason why I got out of VTVT. And the next stock I want to talk about, INO. I finally traded it. The whole time during the live stream today, I was just like, I'm not going to trade this one. I'm not going to trade this one. And then boom, guess what happens? I traded it because there's a good reason behind it though. And it's because we pulled back really, really nicely, and it was a really aggressive pullback. And you know me, when I see a nice healthy pullback, and check out the 5-minute chart, here we had a big breakout from 3.54 on a 5-minute candle. So this is really good. Big breakout here, pullback, and then another breakout. So 5-minute breakout zone is going to be massive future support. And guess what happens? We pull right back to this area. So when I saw that, I was like a little dog that was having a nice treat just being waved in front of it. I knew that I had to get aggressive, and that's what I did. I mean, I didn't go with many more share size or anything like that. I just knew that this is probably going to be a 2 to 3% bounce, guaranteed. So, and that's kind of what happened. It was about a 4% bounce. So could have got a little bit more out of it. I got, again, about 2% out of this one. We had a little bit under $1,000 position size. So it wasn't, a crazy killer trade, but it was kind of, in the bag, 2 to 3% for sure. Again, I got out a little bit too early on this one, but long-term chart, check out this down here. This was a former runner, and it pulled all the way back to $3. So again, big support in this zone. And I felt fairly confident about trading this one. And then check out it was also moving a bit slower. So all day today, one of the big reasons I didn't want to trade it is because, these big moves here, or, big moves, they look like big moves. And usually a move like this will be like 20, 30%. But with INO, it was only 2%. And a big reason for that is because their float was massive, $100 million float. That's insane. Let's quickly check out VTVT. Their shares outstanding was 66 million, but their float was much smaller, about 3 million. So let me quickly show you guys what that looks like on FinViz for a second. So this is VTVT. So shares outstanding 57 million, but their float 3.8 million, right? That's tiny. And the float, again, is all about how many shares are actually able to be traded that day and that are not locked up because they're preferred shares or because they are maybe in some sort of 401k or some sort of larger investment vehicle that just that's not trading the funds or the shares. So these are basically how many shares are able to be traded today right now. Liquid trades, if you may. So if you check out INO, now this is a whole different story. So, out of the gates, it looks very similar, but then you see here, shares outstanding 105 million, but then their float is 96 million. So, this is going to be a much slower mover. And that's exactly, what we saw today. It's just this thing in general was just much slower. And again, I typically kind of want to be avoiding these stocks that have a float over, 20, 30 million. Ideally, I mean, for me, as long as the float's under 50 million, I'll probably trade it fairly aggressively. But knowing the fact that it's going to be a slow mover and it's dipping so hard kind of made me even more convicted that it was going to bounce at maybe 3.57 or something like that. And that was a big reason I kind of pulled the trigger on that one. There's one more stock that I quickly want to talk about before we wrap up here, and that's TROV. And it wasn't on our watch list, but I got alerted. So I had an alert go off, and the reason I have these alerts is because they kind of allow me to know that in the future that these things might run as they break past certain areas. So you could see TROV. On the long-term chart, this thing was constantly selling off, but it's had many spikes to the upside here, and somewhere along the way we probably had it on our watch list or we were trading it, who knows. But this 180-day moving average constantly kept on putting a lot of resistance on this one. So eventually we broke out of this 180-day moving resistance, and I got an alert, and that's why I was looking at it today. Unfortunately, we didn't really get a good trade off of it. But sometimes I'm able to find some really nice support line bounces because setups just like this one. Again, it was a little bit slower mover, but it's not 16 million market cap, 7.7 million shares outstanding. So it's exactly what we were looking for. It was a little bit slow pre-market, didn't really do much, but eventually, the move right here, 10%. If I was able to watch this a little bit quicker, it would have been really nice. I went ahead and put some new alerts out here so I could be maybe watching this one in the future. That's why there's some new alerts here. They were not there just a little bit ago. I actually placed them on the video with you guys live, but that video froze and completely, I had to restart it. I don't know what happened to it. So yeah, I'm watching it again. Maybe it's going to dip down here to 1.6 or 1.44. The reason I put alerts there is because I'd want to be buying at maybe 1.5 or maybe 1.25, where in the past has been nice reversal areas. So, just it's always good to have nice alerts out, and you never know when you're going to be able to capitalize on a good move because alerts. It's something that, takes a little bit of time to get used to, but eventually with the right practice and giving yourself a little bit of time ahead of time, just, you know, in case the price is going down and you want to maybe do a little support line balance, making sure that your alert is in the right place where you'll still have time to enter that trade. Eventually you're kind of get a hang of it, and it could lead to some really nice trades, especially when the ticker, for example, TROV, was no longer on our watch list. So this thing, I would have definitely, I would have snoozed right through it, and I would have never known that it was breaking out right now, unless that, you know, somehow it popped up on our, you know, after pre-market scanner. So if I was watching this one, maybe I would have been able to find it. Actually, right here it is. So who knows? Maybe I would have been able to find it again. But yeah, it's really nice sometimes to have some alerts up. All right, guys, that's everything for this video. Don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed this content. And if you are new here, definitely consider subscribing. I would love to have you join the $25,000 challenge with me, and I would love to see you on the live streams. All right, guys, till next time then, like always, stay safe and make some awesome trades. I'll see you tomorrow. Till then, ciao, ciao.